Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are actor Geno Henderson and fashion designer Deborah Lindquist, who created an eco brand. So we'll talk about her fashions and how she recycles things. Actor, singer Geno Henderson was born and raised in Los Angeles. After high school, he started touring and making TV appearances with such stars as the Pointer Sisters, Sly Stone, Billy Preston, and the Fifth Dimension. He also performed at Carnegie Hall with the talented Roberta Flack, Aaron Neville, and Patty Austin, among a list of other names. Geno studied at the Lee Strasberg Institute, where he received a scholarship. He also studied with our friend Sally Kirkland and Mark Marno. Did you know immediately out of Crenshaw High School that you could sing and go on the road and do things with these people?
Got started pretty early in church.
Oh, is that it?
Yes.
Where?
The Church of Divine Guidance.
Where was it?
That was on Gramercy Place between Venice and Pico.
Oh.
In the early and mid-'60s.
So you were singing.
I was singing as a child, yes.
And was there any show business in your family?
Yeah. My mother sang, of course. She was in the choir at that church with Billy Preston's mother, actually.
You're kidding.
Who, and Billy's sister got me started in the choir. But yeah, my mother sang, all my aunts and uncles, they sang, and of course, our cousin, the dear Roscoe Lee Brown, influenced a lot of stuff that I was doing with acting, but I come from a family of the arts.
You come, Roscoe Lee was fantastic. Devo. I want to call him a diva because he was like so in your face, wasn't he?
You know Roscoe.
Yeah, on the stage, he always did. But then, were you singing, how did you get, say, to Carnegie Hall or to travel with these people?
It was as a guitar player, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got my start as a musician. I started playing when I was 9 years old. And in the Crenshaw area that we were talking about, there was a club called Total Experience. And all of the local musicians, that was your goal, to get a gig at the Total.
Was it on Degnan? Was it in the...
my mother's barbershop was on Degnan.
Was it? Oh,
yeah. Well, the Total Experience was on the west side of Crenshaw Boulevard, about half a block north of Vernon.
Oh.
And
right down the street from where I used to live.
I'm telling you. Well, actually, there was another club further down called Mavericks Flat.
Oh, we know Mavericks Flats because all the top people came out of there.
I was 10 years too young for Mavericks.
Okay,
we couldn't get it. Well, actually, I was too young for the Total, but...
you could never get near Mavericks. Was it going on at the same time?
Well, actually, Mavericks was going on when I was going to Audubon Junior High School.
Where I went.
Where you went. Mavericks, actually, the ownership of Mavericks got started with Jim Brown, the great NFL legend, and a man named Lamont McLemore, who founded the Fifth Dimension. Oh. They had a business venture with a man named John Daniels, and that's how that club started. Well, when I was in junior high.
Was that in competition to Mavericks, was it? Or was
the
it
Total
just
Experience?
to open another? Yeah.
It came later.
The
Total came later, trying to do what Mavericks had done, and it was a nicer facility and everything, and it's sort of the same.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. So you were there playing guitar?
I had a band, and we would open for all the acts that would come in there, for all the legendary black acts that would come into the Total. Same groups that played Mavericks would come down to the Total, and they were bigger by then. and all the singing groups at Blue Magic, Stylistics, B.B. King, and we were the opening act.
But this is such great history. It's almost like anthropological right now, digging through these wonderful ruins from the Crenshaw area.
It's a lot of, I wasn't alone. The Brothers Johnson, the Cats of Earth, Wind and Fire, Tony Maiden and Bobby Watson with Rufus and Shaka Khan.
All from that area?
All from Dorsey, Crenshaw, and Manual Arts, Fremont.
And
Ndugu Chancellor, the legendary jazz drummer, played with Miles Davis and played on Billie Jean, still lives on Mount Vernon.
Is that right?
Right up the hill. Yeah.
Right
there
hill.
where the fork goes. One
Yeah.
side goes to
Oh.
Angela. I can't remember what the one side. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Angeles Vista.
Angeles Vista. The other side. The other side.
think?
Yeah, there you go.
I know it, but it's interesting because it was so strong in our background, that area. I think for you and for me.
Yeah.
And I was just in New York, and Roger Smith was doing a play about Juan Marichal and Johnny Roseborough, and he lived in the area. His family had a motel.
Yeah.
His father was a lawyer, but they owned a motel in that area. So it made an impression on us.
Well, at the club, my bass player was the son of Ike and Tina Turner, Ronnie Turner, and they lived right there on in the Baldwin Hills, and Ray Charles lived around the corner from them. Ray
And
Jr.
we're talking about Lamert Park, View Park, and then we're talking about the Baldwin Hills, where I also lived after I got married, in the Dons.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because
I know
Roger, in his play at the Public Theater, was talking about the Dons.
Yeah.
The streets up
Don
there.
Tommaso,
Exactly.
all those shit, yeah.
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 Don Milagro, where
Don
I lived.
Milagro.
So did you get an agent then? How did you move on in your career?
Well, there was an artist that came through the Total Experience named DJ Rogers. DJ had a record on RCA at the time, and he was a protege of Leon Russell. DJ came through, and us being the house band, we had an opportunity to work with a lot of the artists that came through there. And DJ brought the Gap Band from Tulsa. And it just goes on and on. Teddy Pendergrass, I worked with him with the Blue Notes as a young musician.
So you were a teenager, basically, working with these...
We were all still in high school.
Established? Were they established at the time?
Yeah,
These
they were on the
names?
radio every day. We were fortunate enough to fall into the scene where if you were lucky, you got work with people who had records out and they were well known.
You mentioned Roscoe, who's an actor. Did you think you would be acting rather than staying in music?
No, a funny thing, my first stint with unemployment, about a few years after high school, well, if I could tell you a quick little story about Roscoe, when I was in junior high, I had an uncle who was a bit part actor, and he got a job as a stand-in on a Hitchcock film, Topaz, in '71. He walks up to Mr. Brown and says, "Mr. Brown, I've always admired your work. My name is Theoris Usher." Roscoe said, "Usher, my mother's maiden name." And they realized on the set, within earshot of Alfred Hitchcock, that they were long-lost first cousins.
You're kidding.
That's how Roscoe came into my life anyway.
That's good, yeah.
That's amazing, you know. But after I'd been working, and I called Roscoe one day, and I ended up at the Lee Strasberg Institute because of him.
And you got a scholarship there?
Correct. And then I got involved in acting.
But that's how the acting came about?
Pretty much.
But you don't have a band anymore.
Well, actually, I
you?
didn't really pursue acting that much until Baby It's You. I've done a few things, but I've been writing songs the whole time.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Well, you just mentioned Baby It's You, which has been going on for a long time. It's been playing a long time, and now it's at the Pasadena Playhouse.
Yes.
And I think it has legs. It's, on its way to Broadway. But how long have you been with it?
I met Floyd Mutrux 5 years ago.
See, people. I think the story goes that everyone who's been working on it has been there for a long time.
Yeah.
What did you do 5 years ago with it?
It goes back to the Crenshaw and Total Experience in Church again. I was just telling someone a few minutes ago that the drummer that I grew up with in church, an ex-girlfriend of his, became my agent 10 years ago.
Oh, so you had an agent?
Well, for 5 minutes, she was literally my agent. And he was gone to Europe. Him and I hadn't seen each other in years.
Oh.
And the one thing that she sent me on was the interview with Floyd.
Is that right?
That's right.
So tell us. Here, I'm going to hold this up to the camera.
Okay.
Tells about you. Who's Floyd?
Floyd Mutrux is the director of Baby It's You. Floyd was known for many great films over the years. He was nominated for American Hot Wax. The Alan Freed story, Floyd directed that. And this is the second in a series of musicals under the umbrella of the American Pop Anthology.
Ah, so tell us the story. It's about the Shirelles.
It's about the Shirelles, but it's really about Florence Greenberg, who
Yes.
was a Jewish housewife from Passaic, New Jersey in the late 50s. She decided that she wanted to make a life for herself instead of picking up her husband from the train station every night. So she started a storefront record company, and 4 girls from her daughter's high school became known as the Shirelles. A songwriter by the name of Luther Dixon, African-American songwriter, they had a relationship and spawned Scepter Records, which went on to discover Burt Bacharach, Dionne Warwick, etc.
Who plays Luther?
A very fine actor by the name of Alan Lewis. He plays Luther Dixon, and a wonderful actress. I hope actress is still a correct word. Maybe I should call her an actor too, but she's real good.
She was
In
great.
any case, her name is Megan Holloway.
She was
She
fantastic.
is deep, man. She's really, really good.
Have you been learning all the way along from everyone who's been on this?
That's all I do, is watch them and steal everything I can.
But you come on, you play so many different roles. I mean, your energy never stops. So tell us about the DJ, first of all.
Hopefully, if I'm actually executing this the way people are saying, it's only because I grew up with all these characters.
You knew him?
In the Crenshaw area. We can't get away from the,
I love it,
It's a
though.
total experience, it really is. When we would go and play
Yeah.
on the weekends, cats would roll up in their Cadillacs and they would dress like that. They were wearing those suits and their pinky rings and the fur hats
Right.
and I was maybe a few years removed from the jock area by 15 or 20 years or something, but that music and that culture still lived on.
Yeah.
So it was very easy for me to relate to that lingo and the whole rhythm of it. And musically, all I had to do was tap into James Brown and Jackie Wilson, and
Well, what role was that?
The other stuff.
The other stuff. Tell us the other role, yeah.
When you get to come out and you get to be Ron Isley, or
You were dancing. Your wigs were changing. Your
Yeah.
clothes were changing.
yeah, that's the smoke and mirrors that we want you to believe.
Oh, you were. You really were doing all that.
No, we actually were.
Yeah, you were. You must
yeah.
have been exhausted. I thought you had you were on there just moving the whole time.
I've been trained for this, though.
But did you know how to dance?
Yeah, we did that. Everybody knew how to dance. James Brown coming up. You know how to do James Brown, don't you? See there? It's not that big. Everybody in the neighborhood could do that. That's the difference in culture of the young people when I grew up and today.
They don't
It's a
do
whole
that
nother
now,
thing.
do they?
Well, it's
A different thing.
It's
They
a
do
different thing.
hip-hop.
It's more, everything's technological now, So we had to put the record on and learn the part and do it again and then physically execute it. Now, if you can play chopsticks, you can make a record.
How about your director?
Floyd?
Did he help you?
Floyd, yeah, by giving me this opportunity.
Oh. Did
And
you know him before?
I'd never met Floyd in my life. I walked in that day on a cold audition and he gave me the role.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So your voice has been on TV, animated, this voice of yours?
I did a few things. The theme for the Beethoven, the animated series, I did had a rock and roll, kind of a Big Bopper meets Elvis Presley vocal. A couple things on Star Trek. Had to be a rapper on Wings, blah, blah.
But do you ever aspire to be just an actor, or is music just part of your life?
It'd be a miracle if I got the opportunity to do the kind of select acting roles that I desire. I would love to do that if it happens, Morgan Freeman type things.
Oh, that's...
But my goal is I have a project that I want to turn into like Sly and the Family Stone.
I mean, with a group?
Well, I made the record sound like a group. So when I get the
I was
opportunity.
going to ask you, has anyone famous recorded any of your songs that you've written?
Nothing of any note. The Brothers Johnson were back on A&M later after their initial success over there. We had one song, didn't do anything, and I made a couple of records with one of Berry Gordy's kids. Just as
Just keep
projects
working.
along the way, yeah. But my opportunity will come with the music that I'm doing now.
I think your opportunity is here. I just enjoyed your performance so much.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much for being with me today.
Thank you, Joan.
And don't go away. We'll be right back with Deborah Lindquist. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with fashion designer Deborah Lindquist, who was raised on a farm in Minnesota. She graduated from Parsons School in New York, and she's the creator of the Deborah Lindquist Eco Fashion brand. She regularly dresses such megastars as the Pussycat Dolls, Cameron Diaz, Lucy Liu, Sharon Stone, and Rihanna, just to mention a few names. She converted in 2003 to an eco-sexy line, which has earned her the title of the Green Queen. Deborah, how does a Minnesota farm girl via New York come to LA and become the Queen?
Green Queen.
The Green Queen.
Well, a friend of mine just nicknamed me the Green Queen, and I kind of like it. So
Sounds good.
It does, doesn't it?
Green.
Well, actually, the first thing that I ever designed under my own label in New York was something that was eco-conscious before it was cool. So
Okay, tell us what that is.
I started out doing a line of belts, and the first belt that I did, I found the material in an old bead store in Manhattan, where I was living, and then I put it together with some vintage leather, and it was actually an eco piece.
So that's because it's recycling, repurposing, and we're calling it eco or green.
Yes.
Because we're not using new material.
Yes, recycled. It's also called upcycled these days. I called it reincarnated because some people don't understand the term recycled.
That's why we wanted to talk about the different ways you address eco. And I guess it's all to say repurpose. That was a new
Repurposed,
word.
that's another good word. Well, I think what's happened is because it's become popular now, we're thinking of new words and new ways to describe it.
Who were you designing for before you had your own label?
I designed for Garanimals. Designed the infant and toddler boys line.
You did?
Yeah,
Oh,
little
cute.
boys. Worked in the Empire State Building there on the 35th floor.
Wow.
And before that, I designed for a company called Kellwood. So right out of school.
Did you get jobs right out of school, right out of Parsons?
I did.
So they placed their students pretty much?
They didn't place us. We had to get our own job.
They didn't
That'd be
place
nice.
you?
No, I interviewed and they hired me right off the bat. I think I got hired within the first month, and I've been working ever since. So.
We're making it kind of simple, right?
I know.
Sorry.
It'd be nice if they did that for you.
How, at this point, since you have your line and you're very well established, did you get to dress these celebrities?
Well, with the Pussycat Dolls, my publicist at the time asked me if I could help them with their costumes.
I see.
She was working with them. So that's how I got involved with them and designed a lot of costumes and then worked backstage with the girls
Is
and
that
so on.
different, designing costumes from your line of clothing?
Yes, quite a bit. Well, it was burlesque, so that was a lot of fun. I had already been working with bustiers, and creating bustiers for them was really fun.
You have a bustier with you.
I do, yeah.
There it is right on top. I'll hold it and you tell us what else you did with them.
This is made with a vintage beaded sweater, like your grandma's beaded sweaters, maybe. It's taken from a vintage sweater. So the beading that would have been on either side of the sweater, I turned into a panel in the front.
And you were making bustiers for them?
Mm-hmm.
And what
Among
about?
other things.
And then does that lead to other celebrities knowing about it? And
Well, yes. In the Pussycat Dolls, we had a revolving door of celebrities that were singing and dancing with the troupe. So Charlize Theron was there, Gwen Stefani, Christina Aguilera. You know, I worked with all of them backstage, and
were you
Carmen.
making costumes or actually clothes then?
I was making a clothing line. It was my own.
And
I had
they
my
were
own
wearing
line.
those? Yeah.
No, I made costumes specifically for them for their
I see.
performances.
I see. Now, one thing I know, I heard you lecture in New York, and I know you go to New York a lot, even though you're based here in the Canyon. You're known as the Cashmere. Besides the Green Queen, you're Cashmere devoted.
Yes,
let's say
I
that. Cashmere centric, Deborah. And tell us why and how.
Well, I started working with cashmere in, I guess it was 2003. I found a few sweaters and started playing around with the idea of appliquing
New
them.
sweaters? Old sweaters?
Old sweaters.
And you're wearing
I'm wearing one. This is a cardigan that I've appliqued some snowflake shapes on it. This was from a line a couple of falls ago that was based on Scandinavian kinds of appliques.
Are they old sweaters?
Mm-hmm. They're recycled.
And how do you get them clean? And they have holes in my cashmere sweaters have holes in them.
That's why people get rid of them. Generally, there's a reason. Otherwise, you'd keep them forever, right? So maybe there's a hole, or maybe there's a stain or something, and people will then give them to Goodwill or wherever. So I get the sweaters from people who deal with buying and selling old things like that.
There's a certain market,
Mm-hmm.
a group of people who do that,
Yeah.
other than just the thrift store people.
Yes. They get them in mass quantities from the thrift store people and then sort them. And I'll go through 2,000 sweaters to find 500 good ones.
Is that
for
right?
instance.
There's that many sweaters for you to look at?
Yeah, if I'm lucky enough, yes.
And all different colors? Show us a couple of them here. I think you have another couple
Well,
of
I
cashmere.
happen to really love color. Here's a really cute one that, everyone loves these days is Skull.
And so you take whatever style the sweater is and then work with it. So these are all individual, one of a kind.
Yeah, I do cut them and change them. So
you do?
this one's actually a children's sweater, and I just turned it into a little girl's sweater and left it pretty much as it is, except for the applique, and then adding on different buttons, the little rhinestones and things like that. All the appliques are hand cut, and then we sew them on by machine.
By machine, so they're stuck on there. There's a really pretty peach colored one.
Yeah,
there.
this one's
I mean,
beautiful. This one is really very artistic. Now this one I changed. It was probably a big sweater, and I made it into a cardigan and created the chrysanthemums on the back.
How did you make it? It was a big sweater, a big sweater. Did you take the sleeves off? Did
Take
you,
the
you
sleeves
do
off.
Everything?
Right. I have a pattern. I cut it and change it.
Oh, so you
Sometimes
really,
completely, sometimes not much. It depends on what the sweater is.
And if you were doing it with new material,
Mm-hmm.
would you be using new cashmere and doing the same thing, or you wouldn't do that with new cashmere?
Well, I would probably have it knit the way I wanted it
Oh, that's what I was
to
wondering.
be. You know what I mean?
Let me see
And
the other
then
one.
go from there. This one I love. It's got this griffin on the
I love
back
this
and the
too.
front. Yeah, that one's kind of edgy.
I like it.
It's got-
the color, the blue and the brown.
The turquoise is
black.
gorgeous. And then I've put studs.
Do you re-dye them?
Sometimes.
Oh, you do even do that.
Mm-hmm.
So saying it's an old sweater, it's like really not an old sweater.
Not anymore.
By the time.
I change it so much that it becomes a new thing. Yes.
So this is eco-friendly,
Yes, because
Right.
it's recycled.
and how do you take care of this? Can you wash it? What do you
You
do
can
with it?
hand wash it and hang it up, but after the appliques are on it, it's better if you dry clean because then the edges get a little, curled up. But, I personally dry clean, but I have some customers that hand wash them and they're very happy. You can certainly hand wash it.
And here's your label, your new label. Do you take the labels out of whatever was in here before, or do you? And,
Yes.
So eco-friendly is this,
Yes.
right? And what kind of new fabrics do you use that are eco-friendly?
I use organic cotton, organic wool, alpaca, hemp blends,
What do those
micromodal.
mean? Let's start
Going to-
organic cotton. What is that?
Organic cotton just means that there are no pesticides and herbicides used on the crop as it's being grown. As you know, pesticides are really harmful to the environment and to human beings and living things. And so that in organic cotton, that's how that's grown. There is organic wool too, and the sheep are raised in an organic way for their
Is
meat,
there a
I
certain
guess.
way to cut the wool from them?
I think they're sheared just like
just shear the
normally, normally would be done. So those two are organic, and then there's hemp, which is pest resistant, and you really don't need any kind of pesticide or herbicide with that.
What can you do with hemp? Isn't it stiff and awful hard?
I actually, I make a lot of different things out of hemp. I make wedding dresses, for one.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk about wedding dresses, because you have a whole line of wedding dresses that are eco-friendly. And what else do you do with the bride besides get her that dress? Do you do anything else for the wedding?
Gee,
suggestions?
of course, yeah, I do. I can do bridesmaids too, and flower girls. I mean, whatever she wants, really. But and some headpieces, veils, and that kind of thing too. You know, I also have worked with organic flower growers and no jewelry designers.
Flowers suggest people for the wedding.
I can, yeah, because you know, as I do the bridal thing, for lack of a better term, then I get to know people who work in the bridal
That's what
area
I wondered,
too.
yeah. So you can do the whole package or
I can
suggest
hook
the
them
whole
up.
package.
Yes.
One of the things you do with your wedding dress is you start with a bustier. They're all strapless bustiers, I guess.
They really are based mostly on bustier. Yes, like the cashmere one that I showed you. I did a cream colored cashmere bustier as a wedding bustier.
And then I noticed you have like little short
Shrugs.
Cashmere again, repurposed.
Yes.
And what else do you do? And what about the skirts? What are those?
Well, one of the dresses that's really been the most popular one that I have is made of vintage lace. So I take
you use
vintage lace and then combine it with new fabrics like organic linen. There's one that's a very full skirt that has some hand-done flowers, like big frothy flowers on the skirt, and that's been really
out of old fabric?
That's
or lace
new.
fabric?
That's part of it is new. It's organic linen.
Now, what is the process? Do you drape? Do you draw when you make something like that?
I do all that. Yes.
Well, tell us.
Some things.
You're going to make a dress. You're going to make a wedding dress. How do you start?
You know, I'll probably sketch out a silhouette, a shape, sometimes details about it.
Does the bride tell you what she wants, or does she know that if she comes to you, she's going to get a bustier with either sleeves, no sleeves?
Well, sometimes,
skirt?
yeah, sometimes people see what I have and have photographed and love that and want that, you know, exact piece. Others will come to me with some ideas, and then we'll sketch and we'll do a muslin and fittings and all that kind of thing too.
So you do all of that.
Yeah, I'm actually properly trained. Yes.
I know.
I actually know how to do all this stuff.
Well, some people don't.
I know.
Well, let's talk about this.
Can't
do you
believe
do
it.
fashion shows?
Yes.
You do fashion
Well,
shows.
I did 7 in a row here in LA. Mercedes-Benz, Smashbox, and now they're not operating together anymore.
But you do put together runway models.
I actually love that, but I haven't done one in a couple years.
And this is what is this?
This is alpaca.
Alpaca. Is this a new fabric for you?
This is yeah, brand new actually, new fiber. Alpaca. The best alpaca are raised in Peru, in the in the Andes, high altitude, and their fur is very, very soft. It's like a hollow fiber, so it's very, very light but very warm, and it's not itchy. It's hypoallergenic, and so that's the alpaca dress is something that I've sold quite a lot of. It was part of my goth girl collection, so it's got these cobwebby holes in the sleeve and
well, here
around
we
the
have
neck.
some little symbols too, right? To go with that. And then one other. Let's see what else you have.
I have one other piece that's an organic wool
This one is
jacket.
fantastic. This is organic wool. So that meant the sheep or
The sheep are grown organically,
I see.
raised
They
organically.
I see.
They are, yeah.
And this is a zipper.
It's a zipper. I just turned into a pin. It's a pin, it can come off.
That's repurposed, right?
Yes.
You didn't have to make anything new. And these fantastic hooks,
Yeah.
like the old days. Do you use those on your wedding dresses?
No, but I could.
To
Maybe
hook
I
them
will.
up? Yeah, they look great.
Kind of like an edgy little goth. Wedding dress.
Exactly. Did you feel was one of the most important things you learned at Parsons? Since you said you were trained classically and you knew how to do all of that.
Well, I think, for me, they really, really helped me in so many ways. But really, the drawing was so important there, and really being able to get my ideas across. I mean, first of all, as a student, newly graduated, you really need to be hired by somebody, and to get started. And what Parsons really helped me do is to formulate my ideas and get them on paper in a cohesive, a very easy to understand way.
Yeah.
Because, when you go on an interview and people see that you can actually present your work in a good way like that, you really get a lot of attention right off the bat. And I mean, I got hired very quickly.
So those are some of the things that people should think about, not just bringing in a dress or bring some drawings so that it will help them.
A portfolio presentation, I think, is really important. But, after you're working, you're not going to be portfolioing all the time. I mean, I don't. But, I have the capability of sketching really quickly, getting some ideas down. I know the body. I know the shapes, how the fabric will drape. And, construction, pattern making, all that is really important if you're going to be doing this.
So you're saving our planet.
I am, one sweater at a time.
I know, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, like, how important is that? But one bride at a time, one sweater at a time, one scarf at a time. And if we all did that, we'd be in good shape.
Well, I think that, that it is important for everyone to do something, whatever that might be, if it's recycling or driving a Prius or some kind of electric car or something. Just, pick something that you can do and not to stress yourself out about it, but just, do that, add to it. And
well, we're so happy you came to see us today.
I'm happy you invited me.
Thank you very much, and thank you for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles. And email me at JAQUINN1, the numeral 1, at AOL.com. And keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles, 90017. See you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.